I think there's three reasons why people really need to get to Steve Nison's seminar. Number one, objectivity. Steve is incredibly objective. Institutions pay him big dollars for his objectivity, and without objectivity, you're lost. You know, the subjective whims of emotion have killed so many traders. If you want to be free of that, you need to get here. Clint Eastwood says, a man's got to know his limitations. That is so true. The integrity that Steve brings to his seminars is just incredible. He tells you what the candles will do, and more importantly, he tells you what they won't do. You know, you have to know your limitations, or you know, you're risking your capital, right? Also, the information you're going to get here is only available at his seminars. It's not in his books, and the information that I'm getting today, it isn't even in his other DVD materials. So if you really want to have an edge over your competition, this is the place. Steve is always commenting on the content, which is the individual candle lines, and the context, the trend that the market is in. If you don't have an idea of looking at both of those and then combining that information objectively to let you know what's really going on in the market, once again, you're putting your capital at risk unnecessarily. You know, the objectivity that Steve can impart to you, that's what's going to make the difference in your trading. So I can't recommend Steve highly enough. You got to have this information in order to have an edge over your competition. Well, like I say, I've got all of Steve's materials, and they're fantastic. I mean, I personally feel it's the best investment I've made in my trading education. However, even after going through all his materials, I had a lot of questions in mind. And amazingly, he's answering them all here today. I mean, he's addressed every concern that I had. Like I was curious specifically about the prioritization of signals. What's more important? What has a higher probability of actually manifesting what you think it implies? That's what he's sharing with us today. He has gone through it, done all the work and done all the research and prioritized the probabilities of the candle signals manifesting what you think they imply. That's gold. I mean, if you're not going to sit there and do the research yourself, spend 10, 20, 30 years like Steve's done, you got to get here and get the information from the man. And he is the man on candlesticks. You know, all the other guys who talk about him, they've pretty much pirated Steve's information. You can spare no expense in your education. You know, modern American business philosophers say that if you're not going to invest in yourself, who will? And it's your capital at risk. So if you don't think you're worth it, I'm afraid you might be right. I'm a real good guy on research. I do lots of research, and you know, I have a technical background, so you know, it's just like this. If you're worth it, then you're worth both the time and the expense. So you put in the time to find out the top person in the field, and then you learn from them. You know, and like they say, education isn't cheap, but entering the markets without the education is far more expensive. And then you're learning from yourself and your experience instead of 30 years of Steve Nison's experience. You know, it's such a value that you just can't even compare them. I mean, it's like entering battle without armor. You know, you can't do it. You got to have the proper tools to do the job, and Steve gives you one of the greatest tools there is, the Japanese candlestick tool. It's not a system, as Steve clarifies. And once again, we're back to the integrity. He tells you what it is and what it can do, and equally, if not more importantly, what it isn't and what it can't do. And with that clarity and objectivity, you can succeed in the markets.